If you haven't tried Cursor yet, you definitely should. I tried it for the first time 4 days ago, and it's 100% worth at least a try. Hi, welcome to my channel. If we haven't met, I'm Samir, a software developer, and today I'm going to tell you a story about what led me to try Cursor for the first time. Full disclosure, this is by no means a power user account of using Cursor. I have been coding since 2013, and I have used plenty of code editors. I've also been using AI as a code assistant since 2022 when ChatGPT came out, but for some reason I had never really jumped into Cursor. I only started using it 4 days ago, but I was sort of blown away by it when I tried it. So what led me to try Cursor was I was with some colleagues, they were screen sharing, and they were both using Cursor. So I was like, hey guys, so what's the hype with Cursor? Is it really that good? And both of them right away were like 100% worth it, no hesitation whatsoever. So then I thought to myself, like, why am I not trying this? Then I have to try it. If they both didn't hesitate, then it means there must be something good there. So I downloaded it that day, easy download, and I started trying it right away. Right there and then I noticed that the code suggestions were a lot better. I've used GitHub Copilot because the company I work for pays for it for us, and honestly I haven't really liked it, but Cursor's code suggestions were already better, so I was already starting to like it. But the real magic didn't come to that evening when I was working on the startup that I'm working on with my buddy. We're working on a watershed application, and during a code writing session, I decided to use it. So let me show you what I mean. So the application we're building is a application that will calculate a watershed area. Using the watershed area, there are some calculations, civil engineering based, that will be produced after, but that doesn't really matter for this example. What's important is that we're pulling data from a public S3 bucket, and then we're doing some file manipulation, file processing, and uploading that data to our own S3 bucket. And so while working on that code, the upload file method that we wrote was running, but the file that was getting uploaded to our S3 bucket was coming out corrupted. When we opened the file in our GIS software that we're using to validate the files, the file did not have the correct data. We were kind of stumped, and I thought to myself, well, I just downloaded Cursor, I might as well give it a shot. So one thing Cursor has is if you press Command I, it opens up what they call the coding assistant agent. And so, it keeps the history of the conversations you've had with it. And so here's the conversation about S3 upload file corruption issue. And so what I did was I typed the problem I was having. It's not even that clear. As you can see here, what is going on with the function? The project path file is good, but on the upload, the S3 seems to corrupt. Do you know why? And, started responding to me, giving me some hints. It also asked me some questions, I believe, and it suggested possible solutions. I responded back with another test I had done, which was running the AWS 3 copy upload through the terminal and telling it that that worked. It responds that there's a critical detail, and then it tells you, here's what I think you should do. Essentially, the solution was that we should update the upload method we have. So if we go to our upload method, it told us to use the file object upload method, because before we were using the regular upload method. And so I was like, that's a reasonable suggestion. It also suggests these for you inline, and you can either accept or reject what it's suggesting to you. So you can take a look at what it's suggesting. You can see if you like it, and if you like it, you can accept it. If you don't like it, you can reject it. By no means do you have to accept everything it gives you. I personally thought it was a reasonable suggestion, so I was like, hey, why not? I accepted the suggestions and I ran it again, and it worked. So I was very amazed because, I could have probably figured this out on my own if I had gone to maybe ChatGPT, asked some questions, might have come to the same conclusion, but the context of the code wasn't there in ChatGPT. I could have also gone online, and I would have probably came to the solution, but I feel like this saved me probably a good hour because it gave me a solution. It allowed me to try it right away, and it allowed me to validate. And if I want to further validate, I can look online, make sure what it's suggesting is correct. If I'm not comfortable with it, I was personally comfortable with it, and I thought it was really good. So really the power of Cursor is that it has access to your whole code base. And so it is able to analyze your code base and give you suggestions based on that. Because with ChatGPT, what you end up doing is you end up having to copy code in, ask it, and then it doesn't really have access to the other files, and so it suggests some things, and sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's not. And obviously Cursor's not always going to be right, but the fact that it has access to your whole code base, I think gives it a lot more context and makes the solutions a lot better. Not only that, it can also update the code for you, and you could either accept or reject. So that's very cool, very powerful. I'll give you another example. So I started using Cursor on Thursday. I'm recording this on a Sunday, May 18th, so 4 days ago. And then Friday, I was like, let me use Cursor again. You know, it was pretty nice last night. I was running some load tests and I was running into some errors. There was an error log in our logging system, and the service I was running the load tests on, I'm not too familiar with. So I was like, okay, well, let me open up this service code on Cursor and let me give it the error I'm getting and see if it can kind of tell me more or less what's going on. So I said, hey, I'm running into this error. It's happening in this service. Here's the code for it. Would you be able to tell me what it's trying to do? And so very quickly, you know, it said, okay, this error happens when it tries to call this downstream service. And sure enough, I realized that for the load test I was doing, we used particular environments, and that environment didn't actually have the downstream service on it at the moment. So that's what the error was all about. And you know, that also saved me a ton of time, because I could have gone into the code, slowly went through it, figured it out, but you know, Cursor kind of was able to look at the code, analyze it, tell me, hey, here's what's happening. It's trying to hit this downstream service. I was able to check if that downstream service was there, and it wasn't, so then I figured out the issue. It really saves a lot of time. Just for the sake of an example, let's just go over to Cursor and kind of see how it can give us some suggestions. One thing I was unhappy with the other day was we were doing this unzipping, and I ended up changing this zip function to be one line at a time instead of using the provided Python zip function. This code here is all in Python. So what I'm gonna do, just so we can see how it works, is I'm gonna say, hey, can we flip back the zip function to use the zip function provided by Python? So we can say something like, hey, I would like to switch the unzip function to use the one provided by the Python library. And let's see what it does. So you press it, it generates, kind of analyzes what you said, and it will provide some answers for us, and possibly some code suggestions. And just to know, I haven't actually paid for the pro version here. I'm using the free version, and that is more than enough to give Cursor a try. So don't feel like you need to go and pay just to try this. You can try the free version, and you know, it's enough to give you a feeling for what it can do. Okay, so I asked it that I would like to change the unzip function to use the one provided by the Python library, and then it provides these suggestions, and you could either accept everything right away, or you can come in here and you can kind of see what's going on. So here you can see that it's just updating the method description. So you could either accept or reject. We could accept. And then here you can see that it's telling you, okay, you can simply use the Python zip file library to unzip the file. And it tells you what the change would be, and you can either accept or reject. And I can accept. And that's it. And you can then run it, try it, see if it works. But it does the change for you. It's very convenient. It saves time. So if you haven't tried Cursor and you're on the fence, or just haven't got the motivation to do it, I definitely think you should at least try it. You can try the free version. You know, if you don't like it, you don't have to use it, but it's definitely worth a try. And if you didn't even know what Cursor was, which is probably not the case, because you probably wouldn't be watching this video if that was the case, then you should still try it, because you know, I think it's worth a try. It's easy to download, and literally I think you'll know in like a day of using it lightly if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, you just don't use it again. Well, that's the video. It's my story on how I started using Cursor and how I kind of fell in love with it, and why I think you should give it a try. Well, thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to watch more of my content, check out this video over here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.